our next show that we'll be talking about from the Disney Investors Meeting. So, we got a trailer, and the trailer was freaking awesome. I, for one, was actually pleasantly surprised about how much I enjoyed the trailer and how much hype I think the trailer brought to a ton of people. I personally, when they announced the Bad Batch, like really didn't care. I mean, I was gonna watch it. I'm excited, In general, I'm always excited for new Star Wars, and it'd be interesting to see what happens to the Bad Batch. But that wasn't what I was waiting for. I guess when they're like, "We're announcing the Bad Batch." However, that trailer I think changed a lot of people's mind who were able to see it, and it was like I don't know, it gave me so much A Team vibes. Like it was, if anyone ever saw the TV show slash movie where a group of mercenaries go out, trying to survive and stuff, and that definitely seems to be a similar vibe that Disney itself was going for because they say in the post Clone War era, immediately following the Clone War era, the Bad Batch will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. Right? So, it's very A Team to me, and I enjoyed the TV show. I enjoyed the movie of the A Team, so I can't imagine Star Wars A Team sounds bad, you know? So, should be fun. But what were you thinking when you saw the trailer, Cody?
I shared the same thoughts as you when they announced a while back that the Bad Batch was going to be
Mm-hmm.
kind of the next. I was just kind of like, really, like, okay. Um, but the more that we're seeing on it and hearing on it, the more excited I'm getting because it actually feels more like it's going to be. And I've seen people joke about this Clone Wars season 8. You know, like it kind of is because it's like they're they're basically what's left of clones.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're assuming they're not going to become stormtroopers, right? So they're obviously, if they don't have chips because they are the Bad Batch, or they're able to remove their chips, whatever's going to happen, it's going to be exciting to find that out.
For sure.
They're the last of the clones, other than like Rex and Wolf and a couple of those guys, which, by the way, could very well maybe make an appearance.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, that trailer was unreal. Like I think the very first thing that stuck out to me was them going back to Camino.
Mm-hmm.
That made me just like eyes wide. Like I cannot wait for the show now, just for that alone. Like that's gonna be incredible.
Right. There's so much questions that happens, like regarding what happens to Camino. I mean, Legends. I'm pretty sure Sidious just tried to blow it up. Well, okay, one of the things is he basically wiped him out, so that way no one could ever build a clone army to go against him. That's one of the Legend stories. There's other ones where
Makes
Vader,
sense.
clones a random kid and tries to make an army of weird, creepy crawlies. But I mean, there's several different options here, and I think it would be cool to see what happens with Camino. I think that's definitely a big question I have in general, especially because how's this going to play into obviously some remnants of the Kaminoans exist because of Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian, who wears the Camino emblem or the Kaminoan emblem on his arm, and is obviously a scientist from that some sort of cloning division, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Camino with that alone. And I mean, I know a lot of people point out Fennec Shand is in it, so that's another cool connection to the Mandalorian. I mean, she looks pretty cool as a cartoon.
Yeah, and I guess like the actress has obviously done some voice acting, so uh,
Mildly
you
famous
know,
for it, I think.
right. So obviously like she's gonna fit that perfectly, and she's just a cool character in the Mando, especially this most recent episode, like seeing
Right.
her sniping and everything. And one thing that I am interested about with her being in the show, I wonder if her and Boba Fett, knew each other prior to this meeting on Tatooine. And
Mm,
maybe this is an opportunity to introduce that because they definitely seem like they have a level of trust with each other.
hmm.
Obviously, she's like, oh, Boba Fett saved my life, so I kind of owe him a life debt because
Right.
she's all mechanical down here now. So maybe that's the first time they met, but maybe not. And also, if she's going to work with some of the clones, it's also interesting the fact that like seeing Boba's face might remind her of some of this. Like that's
To be
it's
fair, a
cool.
lot of the Bad Batch looks a little different.
Yes, but Echo. Wait,
Hmm.
yeah. See, he looks pretty similar, right? So
Right. He should look pretty similar.
but yeah, no, it's for sure just interesting to see her in there. And then the other kind of character appearance, we got Tarkin,
Right.
uh, which is that's awesome. Obviously, he was in the Clone Wars and stuff before, but that's a really cool character to have.
He's super cool. And I don't know, I've always loved Tarkin. I think he's super cool. And the concept to me is, I think the biggest question is, what does the Bad Batch do? Are they, so it says they're doing mercenary missions, but are they doing mercenary missions for the Empire? Um, Honestly, seeing Moff Gideon to me, that was like kind of a thing where I was like, I wonder,
Oh, Tarkin,
or yeah, freak, too many Moffs these days.
so many months.
Seeing Moff Tarkin, I was kind of like, I wonder if, like they're actually working more for the Empire than anything else. And that seems
Ooh,
pretty probable. I
I didn't
mean,
think that. Maybe their
last
chips
time they
never got
saw
taken out.
Tarkin, I mean, I would imagine they never had chips, but I mean, Order 66 was the huge purpose of the chips, obviously. But, if Tarkin shows up, a commanding officer from the Republic days, right, and is like, hey, we have some orders, you'd probably be like, seems reasonable. Same
Right.
guy who's giving them last week, like, so
Maybe
that'd
they're
be kind of
tasked with going to
interesting.
Camino to wipe out Camino. That would be that would be interesting.
So maybe they
I
all go
never thought
together,
of
and then
it
the
like
Bad Batch
that.
is like, this is bad.
Yeah, yeah, because I definitely think we're gonna have some point, if it's not right at the beginning, showing Order 66 and that being the
Hmm.
turning point. If they are gonna work for the Empire a little bit, there will. I would like to think there's gonna be a turning point where they realize they're on the wrong side and switch and fight against the Empire. But we'll see. That'd be interesting. I didn't even think of it that way. Like in my head, I was like, no, they're obviously gonna be good guys.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's no guarantee, I guess.
And then, I mean, Cassie is pointing out a good thing, and this was actually something I was wondering was, okay, I didn't think Fennec Shand was that old, but if
Yeah,
she's operating during this time, during the Bad Batch, right after the Clone Wars era, that's 20, almost 30 years, basically, before The Mandalorian, right? So,
yeah.
makes
She
her
aged
like
well.
50, 45, 50. I mean, it seems reasonable
Yeah,
with like the actual actress's age, but I don't know. I kind of got a vibe
right.
she was more. I guess I have no idea how old anyone is in The Mandalorian, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and then Boba. I mean, Boba's still around, kicking back. Around that time, obviously, and he was a kid during Attack of the Clones and during, most of Clone Wars. So, um,
Yeah, is he like the same age? Is she like a kid? Because Boba Fett's pretty much a kid at
she
this
looked
time, right?
old. Yeah, she looks.
But she
I would
looked.
say she's at least a teenager. She's. I mean, it's. I mean, she's fully grown, right? It looks like she was tall. Like I don't know. She definitely seems like she's at least 18, 19, 20, or more.
Right. So,
Um,
but that's just
but
gonna
I
be
don't
kind
know.
of interesting, I guess. Is he? You know, is she? Is she like a 16-year-old out making a name for herself as a crazy assassin, right?
Yeah,
Or is she
be interesting.
kind of established from the Clone Wars? It'll be interesting to see. And I think, I don't know, as soon as I saw her, I was like, ooh, that's really cool because her character is really cool. And pretty much all of the characters in The Mandalorian, I would be interested to see a backstory on. So that was another cool point to me. And I know something Cody and I were talking about was kind of the head people in charge of the Bad Batch we thought was important to bring up was there's going to be Brad Rao as the supervising director, Jennifer Corbett, who's the head writer, and Josh Rhimes as the producer. Now, of course, Dave Filoni, Kathleen Kennedy, etc. There's a plethora of people who are on the executive producer list, but um, the supervising director, that's a lot of the times the job you saw Dave Filoni do in the Clone Wars and Rebels. These people are actually all from Star Wars Resistance, so it's kind of interesting. They kind of gave them a Star Wars Resistance as almost like a precursor trial thing. They liked what they saw with the Resistance, and they moved them into being in charge of the Bad Batch. So it'll be kind of interesting to see. I mean, Dave Filoni obviously doesn't direct every single episode of the Clone Wars. He doesn't write every single episode of the Clone Wars or etc. But it'll be interesting to see. It seems like these three people are going to be more in charge of it, so it's going to have a different flair than necessarily. It won't truly be a Clone Wars season 8 due to this important distinction, right? That it's going to have three different people at the head of it, supervised by Dave Filoni.
Yeah, so that's really cool. They obviously felt that that team work
Hmm.
well together.
Right.
And then the other thing too, I think that's important to mention is everyone was very happy with the animation style from season 7 Clone Wars, and so we're gonna get
Right.
more of that. And that's I can't complain about that.
For sure. Yeah, that animation was insane. Now,
Oh
despite the
yeah,
fact that we heard about this in roughly July of 2020, so 5 months ago now, we don't have a date for when this will premiere on Disney Plus. However, back in July 13th, 2020, when it was first announced, they did say that it will arrive on Disney Plus in 2021. Um,
right. Other than
important,
like spring or something like
they,
that.
they didn't say it at all. Besides, it will arrive in
Oh,
2021. That's what the report
how do
said.
I have that in my head?
Um, that's because I think that's when Andor was supposed to arrive, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to arrive in spring of 2021. But
Yeah, then
COVID
COVID.
and Obi-Wan encountered its own problems. But that I think that it's kind of just important. It happened in July that they announced that, so I mean that's pretty well into having COVID. So I don't think we're likely to see it pushed back at all from 2021. So expect the Bad Batch
Yeah.
to show up in 2021, I guess.